cold. We're building something unbreakable. From the highest highs to the lowest lows. We're building something unbreakable. Unbreakable, unbreakable. We're building something unbreakable. When the world's on fire and the sun burns cold. We're building something unbreakable.
Chego aqui para a TV Flórida USA mais uma vez, e hoje, nessa segunda-feira maravilhosa, teremos dois convidados muito especiais para falarmos sobre a missão da comitiva brasileira no exterior, em Bruxelas, no Parlamento Europeu. Hoje com a gente o deputado federal pelo estado de São Paulo, Eduardo Bolsonaro, e o Robbie Ross, deputado, membro do Parlamento Europeu pela Holanda. O Robbie está chegando daqui a pouquinho, mas seja bem-vindo, deputado.
Obrigado, Lili, obrigado pela oportunidade. Satisfação revê-la novamente, agora de maneira virtual, e a gente aí sempre ocupando os espaços, né? Feliz de falar aqui com uma audiência que é muito voltada para a comunidade brasileira nos Estados Unidos. Lembrando que as 3 maiores comunidades brasileiras fora do Brasil estão aí, né? Em Boston, Miami e Nova York. Então, vamos falar com eles. Inclusive, na minha rede social, depois do Brasil, os Estados Unidos, ao menos no meu Instagram, é onde eu tenho mais seguidores. Mais de 1% dos meus seguidores estão nos Estados Unidos.
Com certeza, deputado. Aqui a comunidade brasileira, eu posso falar pela comunidade na Flórida, que é onde eu moro. Tenho muitos amigos em Massachusetts também. E eu posso dizer que aqui a comunidade brasileira ama o seu pai, acompanha o seu trabalho e também são muito assim ativos, né, na luta, no ativismo político, né, na luta pela volta da liberdade no Brasil contra a ditadura. Também temos uma grande comunidade na Geórgia agora, ali na região metropolitana de Atlanta, na comunidade de Marietta, que inclusive a TV Flórida agora tá indo para Marietta também. Então, o pessoal, a grande comunidade brasileira na Geórgia vai ter acesso à TV Flórida e a essa entrevista aqui maravilhosa. Mas, deputado, eu te agradeço, eu sei que a sua agenda é muito corrida. Ontem vocês tiveram aí um momento incrível, maravilhoso em Copacabana, junto do nosso querido presidente, seu pai. E parece que foi um momento histórico, porque não apenas pelo fato de que os brasileiros estão começando a voltar às ruas, a ter coragem de se posicionar, mas por toda a visibilidade que o Elon Musk e que as nossas denúncias estão surtindo no exterior. O que você achou de ontem, estando lá?
Eu achei sensacional. Eu acredito que a cada vez que o Jair Bolsonaro convoca os brasileiros para irem à rua e as pessoas comparecem, né, e até agora o Bolsonaro tem tido 100% de aproveitamento, eu acho que isso daí mostra que o segundo colocado nas eleições de 2022 é realmente a única liderança nacional, a única pessoa que leva, né, os brasileiros para as ruas. E isso daí, diga-se de passagem, sem pagar pão com mortadela nem nada, nem chamadinha para ver quem que está fazendo invasão vai ser beneficiado depois com qualquer tipo de benefício governamental. E, de fato, isso daí se traduz também dentro do mundo político, né? Quando as pessoas começam a ver isso aí acontecendo, ninguém se arvora para o pêndulo, né, ir para atacar o Bolsonaro. É claro, a esquerda ela sempre vai atacar porque ela é uma questão doentia já. Mas aquelas pessoas que não entendem de política, ou que acompanham muito pouco, ou por vezes são políticos, mas do espectro mais de centro, quando eles olham essas pessoas nas ruas, eles buscam até se aproximar mais dessa maneira de pensar parecida com o Bolsonaro, porque eles estão preocupados também com a eleição dos seus prefeitos, dos seus vereadores, a base para a sua reeleição, se for um deputado estadual ou federal. Então isso tudo vai agitando o tabuleiro político a favor de Bolsonaro. E para finalizar aqui, para já começar a falar um pouquinho de Elon Musk, que eu estou vendo aí que o Rob Ross acabou de chegar, o Elon Musk ele tem trazido esperança de volta para a sociedade brasileira. Porque aqui as pessoas sempre se perguntavam, quando é que vai mudar, quando é que as coisas vão mudar? Como é que vão mudar? E eu sempre falava, gente, tenha fé, calma, tudo ao tempo de Deus, uma hora vai dar certo, a gente não sabe às vezes como ou quando, mas uma hora as coisas vão acontecer. E estão acontecendo. A gente está vendo e fazendo história, olhando como que é a queda da soberba, né? A arrogância, ela precede a queda. Então, o sistema ele vai espernear, e eu acredito que o que virá dos Estados Unidos vai aumentar muito o custo Alexandre de Moraes. O próprio establishment, conforme mais as investigações vão se aprofundando do Twitter Files Brasil, o próprio establishment entregará a cabeça do Alexandre de Moraes. Ou, pelo menos, né, alguns políticos já começam a falar que a anistia que servirá ao pessoal do 8 de janeiro talvez possa servir até mesmo para Alexandre de Moraes e todos os demais envolvidos nessa perseguição. Now in English. Tá mutado o seu som, Lilia. Tá no mute aí, acho que tem que tirar.
Tem que tirar. Sorry. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for arriving. And now that you're here, we're going to pass to English. I just asked Eduardo a brief question here about the event, the big protesting that happened in Copacabana Beach in Rio. He was there, his father. But first, let me properly introduce you. Everybody, right now, the Brazilian amazing audience here in the United States, and also the Brazilians that stream through TV Florida. Rob Ross is MEP in the European Parliament for the Netherlands. He is conservative. He is a freedom fighter. And he helped us, he invited us to the European Parliament. Now we are here about to debate a little bit of what happened there. So first of all, thank you for joining, Rob.
It's a pleasure to see you again, Eduardo, Lily. Very good. I'm in Strasbourg right now. It's the last session of this mandate, but it's it's wonderful to see you again. And I also watched what happened, the big protests in Brazil. It was amazing. Things are going in the right direction. That was my opinion about what I saw.
Yes, oh, that's great. And that was actually going to be my first question for you, if you actually seen it. And so yes, it was beautiful. Eduardo was just telling us, was just saying here that people are starting to push, and we feel confident that we have the support of the international community.
Yeah.
Also that the establishment is about to sacrifice the biggest character causing all of this, which is Alexandre de Moraes. But following what Eduardo was saying, I would like to ask now, Eduardo, and Rob just said that he saw it. Here from the US, we could follow up of a lot of big news, big media companies writing about it. And they are writing a little bit, they are being a little bit more fair compared to what they used to be. The New York
Almost
Times.
unbelievable.
Yes. The New York Times, Washington Post, a lot of them are writing about it. A journal in France that has been the worst, complimenting Lula. Have you seen this? Have you seen the media outcome?
Yes, and this is great. Why? It's not because from now on they're going to do their work fairly, but this is great because it shows that behind the scenes, for sure, they debated between themselves, and actually they decided to publish all of that at the same time. A lot of the mainstream media of Brazil, they are publishing now, talking about the censorship, criticizing the Justice Alexandre de Moraes decisions. And why this is great? Because they are looking that in a soon future, things are going to change in Brazil. And it's better you change your opinion, change your behavior now, before that this time arrives. Because when the ship is sinking, going to the deep of the sea, everybody is going to run away. And at this moment, it would be very bad, very ugly for the mainstream media if they change their narratives, if they change their opinions 180 degrees, you know. So the message is the mainstream media in Brazil, they will not fight back against the international mainstream media. In the United States, as you very very good said, Lily. Mainstream media in the United States, even the left-wing media, they're talking like criticizing Alexandre de Moraes. So the press in Brazil, they are not going to buy this fight against all of the rest of the world, trying to sustain a narrative saying that in Brazil we have a normal and regular democracy. No, we don't have that. And it's just the beginning of this soap opera, of this novel. And for the next chapters, we are going to have, in the beginning of May, the hearing of Elon Musk in the US Congress, and he will present some documents. For sure, he will present some documents showing to everybody how was the relationship between the social media X, the former Twitter, and the Supreme Court and the Electoral Court in Brazil. It's very important to tell you that, Rob, that Alexandre de Moraes, this justice from the Supreme Court, he's not only in the Supreme Court, he's also the chairman of the Superior Electoral Court in Brazil, who took care of the whole elections in Brazil in 2022.
Very well said, Eduardo. And it's we have been mentioning a lot in our in the missions abroad with the Brazilian delegations that we are under attack, that we are under a dictatorship. Well, Rob actually heard our expositions, our denounces, helped us spread the word, invited more MEPs to hear us, and now he's willing to fight our fight. Just like Sergio Tavares from Portugal, just like Michael Schellenberger from the US, Chris Smith, a federal congressman as well, here in the House of Representatives. So, Rob, how effective do you think that our visit to the European Parliament and in Brussels was in all of this? You, as a European that is willing to help us fight in this fight, what do you think about our job there?
Yeah, it was amazing. Big group, a lot of attention. And I think the most important thing is that the people in Brazil saw that they are not alone. We are united as conservatives all over the world. And we just need a threshold of, let's say, 20, maybe 30% max of the people. If we reach that threshold, then the tyranny will be stopped, because that's too much. And other people are, because in the beginning, there are people, of course, they know there is suppression and there is censorship, etc., but they don't have the guts to speak out. And when we reach that threshold of 20, maybe 30%, then it's a snowball. Everyone get the guts to speak out, and then before we know it, we are 50, 60%, and then the tyranny is stopped, because they only have power when they can suppress the people, when they can silence people with censorship. So it's very important to show that we are united and that the people in Brazil are not alone, and also that we fight as conservatives worldwide. And I think that is a new development that was not before. The conservatives were always on their own, and now things are changing. It's necessary, because this censorship and this socialist agenda, maybe even communist agenda, is happening everywhere in the West now.
And well, it's true. We need to connect. The left does it, so why shouldn't we, right? And Eduardo is quite good at that. Congressman, I'll ask you. I know that you're not only a good federal congressman, but you're also a great diplomat. You've traveled and you make alliances. You bring the voice of the people who voted in you and abroad. But on the other hand, we have a president currently that is connecting Brazil to dictatorships that our people doesn't like, doesn't follow, and obviously doesn't agree with. Russia, Iran, China, all of those countries. What do you think of that, Eduardo? And do you think that this is actually bringing any losses to Brazil? And I know the question, but I need to provoke you in that answer. I need to really to see how you think about it. Yours.
Now it's my turn. What we saw during the car wash operation that brought a lot of light in a lot of corruption scandals that we had in Brazil, it brought some lights for the aspect that the Public Bank of Brazil, BNDES, it was used to finance this corruption abroad of Brazil. So with the taxpayers, with the Brazilian taxpayers' money, Lula da Silva and Dilma Rousseff sent to Cuba to build a port, to Venezuela to build a subway, and all of that, there was no fiscalization. And by the way, the debt of these countries with Brazil just increased. So they got the money, they do not pay us back. And in fact, what we discovered is that when this money was sending to these countries, look to me, Rob Ross, these countries, by the analysis of this Public Bank of Brazil, they had the same hate risk of Switzerland. So when the bank was sending money to Cuba, in the official papers, they said that Cuba has the same risk of an investment that could be done in Switzerland. So this is madness. And this time, they are bringing back again this time. So Brazil is again feeding dictatorships all around the region. There was a program to send R$1 billion, about $200 million, to build a usine for electricity in Nicaragua. And Lula da Silva gathering again with all of these dictatorships is bringing Brazil to a situation that we are getting isolated. For example, this last week, we had a meeting in Argentina. It was the Liao Liao Summit in Argentina, in the city of San Carlos de Bariloche. And in this meeting, you had the president of Paraguay, Peña, the president of Uruguay, Lacalle Pou, and the president of Argentina, Javier Milei. With Brazil, these four countries form our bloc, called Mercosur. Where was Lula? Lula was around gathering with some dictators, traveling to other countries, and bringing no benefits to Brazil. So these times, they're back again. And the sad thing is, during the elections, I, Eduardo Bolsonaro, was forced by a decision of the Electoral Court under the presidency of Alexandre de Moraes to delete my tweets when I was doing relations between the friendship of Lula and Nicolás Maduro, Lula and Daniel Ortega da Nicaragua. We had to delete it, and if we did not delete, we were fined in like thousands and thousands of dollars daily if we do not delete our posts. So this is the thing. In an election in Brazil that was decided for less than 1% of the votes, if you get 0.9 from Lula, bring it to Jair Bolsonaro, we would win this election. In this election, we did not relate. It was impossible to relate Lula with Nicolás Maduro, Lula with Fidel Castro, Lula with Daniel Ortega. My father, he was forbidden to do live streamings from his house. If Jair Bolsonaro, when he was running for president, if he wished to do live streaming from his Facebook, Instagram, whatever, it was necessary he get out from his house to do all of that. Because it was a decision from the Electoral Court saying that, oh no, Jair Bolsonaro is living in a house, the official house of the government, and is paid by public money. So to be in the same level of the other candidates, it's necessary he go to other place and do not use his own house to do live streaming. This is sickness. And all of these bad things are coming up through the hands of Elon Musk. It's a humiliation to Brazil that we could not solve this problem internally, and it will be necessary a foreign Congress the Congress of the United States, to bring us the solution for our problem. Now is your turn.
We're taking turns. Tyranny at its best. What do you have to say about that, Rob? And if you could, please also talk a little bit about the Twitter files and the repercussion over there in Europe.
Yeah, but this is exactly what happened during the elections in the United States. First, President Trump was taken offline by the big platforms. That was censorship. And then during the elections, when we had this laptop from hell, and even the secret services were helping President Biden to say this is a Russia thing, and it's not real. And afterwards, this laptop with all this crap was real. So it happened in Brazil, it happened in the United States, but it is also going on in Europe, where we have the Digital Services Act, and this is just made to fight disinformation. But actually, let's say, of course there is disinformation, but there is so much disinformation coming from our governments exactly for the same reason, to push this socialist agenda and to suppress the conservative voice. It happened. It happened online last week. We have I heard you spoke about it with Herman. We had the National Conservatism event with the Netcom, and Prime Minister Orban was there to speak, but also Nigel Farage, and we were banned from the venue by the mayor. Then they searched for another one, and we were banned from that venue also. And then overnight they searched another one in the most poor part of Brussels. It's a Turkish, there are a lot of Turkish people living over there, and even there we were forced to go away. And in the end, it didn't happen. The legal system survived because of all this attention in the media. But this censorship, this is the beginning of the tyranny. And it's happening in Brazil, in the United States. It's all over the West. It's really I call it an autoimmune disease of the West. We are destroying ourselves.
If you may I add, Lily, please. One thing make Brazilian cases special is because all around the world, for example, in France, you don't have Rumble anymore. Rumble is not in Brazil, but it's not in France. If you are following what is happening in Australia through the hands of the administration, all is happening there about censorship is also crazy. But in Brazil is the only one case where everything is coming through the hands of the judiciary. And this virus, this Brazilian virus, is going all around the region, all around the world actually, because all of the authorities in Brazil that are pushing forward this censorship, they are going all around the world, for Europe, for United States, New York, Paris, London now, teaching the others, or better, doing great speeches, how to defend the democracy in the other countries. It means that in the United States, they are going to lose the election this year if you do not have frauds. I'm 100% sure that Donald Trump will be elected president this year. So what they are going to do is they are going to try to renew the strategy. And maybe Brazil, we are playing a very important role in all of that. Because if United States, if they have success, and I saw George Soros was trying to fire Supreme Court Justice Clarence, if they have success in that and build a majority in the Supreme Court of United States, they will copy what is happening in Brazil. That's also why the Congress of United States is paying attention a lot about what is going on here. Because it's not only up to Brazil. This virus can easily go to United States. And I think it's very important we follow very close the repercussion of the Twitter files Brazil And this is also why I'm very, very, very thankful for Mr. Rob Ross, who is together here with us. Despite he's from Netherlands, he had the sense to fight for freedom, bringing us the opportunity to go to the European Parliament and talk about all of that. That I'm sure, Mr. Rob and Lily, although all the work of the social media and the independent press, it's very hard to the foreigners know the details about what is going on in Brazil.
Yes, I remember, Rob. I remember telling you that a little bit about what was happening. And when we were in the mission in Washington, D.C., we were inside the van. We were all talking, the congressmen, the journalists. I was there. And I brought your name into the conversation, telling everybody that you were a freedom fighter in the European Parliament, that you were fighting the Green Deal, that you were fighting health measures imposed, that I'm not going to say the word because I don't want the live to be in trouble, but you guys know what it is. And all those tyrannical measures, you were fighting them off. So I brought your name into the conversation, and immediately the congressman, Gustavo Gayer and Paulo Bilinski, they both said, Lily, please reach out to him, see if he maybe would help us. I text you, immediately you answer. Then you called it. The entire van heard the conversation. More people was there. Jamil, the journalist, people from Yes Brazil USA, Bia Kisis, other congressmen were there. We put it on the speaker, and then immediately we started talking. The European mission started right in that moment. And from that moment on, like the next day, you were talking to Herman about this. And you and Herman were already on it. Herman assistant reached out to me and some other friends, and we kept the train on going. Now, since then, and you've seen from close the Brazilian fight, you're seeing your fight. What are the hopes that you have based on what Eduardo said, that the entire world is actually facing those struggles? You, by the way, Eduardo, I told you, I think just now in the backstage, Rob will be with us in Washington, D.C. He's coming for this hearing. And he's just going to make our mission forward. I'm already reaching out to other congressmen as well. And everybody wants to be a part of this because I think it's historical for the world, like you said. So, Rob, how do you see the outcomes of everything? And do you think are you hopeful? Do you think we can fight this off?
I'm very hopeful, and we should be hopeful. What in Europe and the United States and also in Brazil, we see that the people are fed up with all these restrictions that they impose to us. The lockdowns, the Green Deal, the fight against our farmers, our energy systems, they are destroying people's lives. We are politicians, and our main task is to improve people's lives, at least stay at the same level, but even better to improve it, taking care of jobs, making that there is enough food, there is safety, etc. And the socialists, with all this sustainable development goals agenda and their ESGs, the environmental social government, it's a communist agenda. I call them and it's making people's lives very, very hard. You were warned by the people in Venezuela. It went very fast. It had one of the richest countries in the world in the past. And they told you it can happen to Brazil. But it also, for me, it's an example. It can happen also in Europe. And we take no, not me, but let's say the most people take our freedom for granted. They think it's something natural, it's there, it will not disappear. But freedom is something you have to fight for. It's not there, it's not, freedom is not free. Our grandparents fought in the Second World War for our freedom. Many lives have fallen because of this, and we have to fight together for our freedom. And we we are just an example for the rest of the people. If we fight for them, they have faith and they will also join this fight. Because if we are together, if everyone stands up, then we win. It's this tyranny. It's only based on fear. But if we show we are not afraid, and we want our freedom, and we are willing to fight for it, then I think that more and more people will join us. And in the end, we see a lot of conservatives governments in Europe, because we had a lot of socialist governments, but people are really fed up with that. So in the Netherlands, in Greece, in of course Hungary and Poland, but also in Italy, in France and Germany, conservatives are winning. I'm very, very hopeful, and I'm sure that if we reach the threshold, and I saw the big protests in Brazil, if we reach that threshold, then Lula and Juarez, they will not, they cannot push on with their agenda. They will not survive this.
Tá no mudo de novo, Lili. We are like those majority of buffaloes fighting against 2 or 3 lions. If everybody run at the same time against the lions, we are going to win.
Yes. Okay, now, Congressman, both of you. I had some questions from my audience for you, but they are not 100% aligned with the mission in the European Parliament. But if you feel free to talk a little bit about it. In Brazil right now, the problem that we have been discussing openly and being very vocal about it is the freedom of speech, of course, right? Eduardo just gave us a great context of it. But in Europe, as far as we know, Rob, you guys have been dealing, especially in the Netherlands, not only with the attacks to the farmers in the agribusiness, but also with the housing, the private property. And in Brazil, we have a terrorist movement, call it MST, that invades private property. And here in the US, the United States is being attacked in the southern border. We have a weaponized migration going on. Studying and tracing all of those phenomena, those terrible crimes that I just quoted to you both, we go back deep down in the roots to the UN, to the 2030 agenda.
Correct.
Could you each talk a little bit about the 2030 agenda in Europe and the 2030 agenda in Brazil? Because Eduardo, here in the US, some of them can also connect the UN to the Supreme Court judges, and saying that they are trying to implement the 2030 agenda by all means, even if it is through tyrannical orders. What do you think about that? Eduardo, please.
Yeah, the United Nations was created to be a place where the countries could have dialogues before they decided to go into a war. But nowadays, the left wing, they overturned this paper of the United Nations, and they try everything they cannot approve in the Congress, they try to approve through these international forums. And this is very dangerous for democracy. Why? Because no one in Brazil voted for someone representing them in the United Nations. Yeah? If something goes wrong or bad in the Congress, at least people, they have the chance to know who is doing bad things. And at least they can vote in other candidates on the next election. It's like Churchill said, you can criticize the democracy, at least it's the less worst systems in the world. On the other hand, what are you going to do if something is coming from the United Nations, OAS, or whatever? And Lula da Silva, the current president of Brazil, he's running all around the world asking for Macron, Biden, some other international leaders, that we have to find a way to debate in the international forums, and the decisions that we take force the countries to follow that, despite what the Congress is going to talk about that. So it would be the concretization of the global government. Thanks God, until nowadays, he isn't successful in this willing of him. But I'm sure that Macron, Biden, and some others, they would be very happy if it happened. And this is one reflect of the 2030 agenda of the United Nations. Because when they talk about gender ideology or policy for the farmers, what they want is apply that in all over the world. And you are looking what is happening in Netherlands, in Germany, and some other countries, because the farmers are angry, because they know that they will be the next victim after the Sri Lanka. If you go look the story of Sri Lanka, where the president was taken out from the presidency by force by the people that invaded the presidential palace, it started with a foreign policy about fertilizers, about the tools of the farmers are using to produce. And the result was they got out of food for people. So when the farmers go to the streets in Netherlands, this is what they are telling, like, we are not dumb enough to be necessary feel in our skin what is the out of food before we take a decision. So I thank God every time that I see, the machines and the farmers on the roads, I really celebrate it here in Brazil, saying that, you still have, it's a brief of hope that you have smart people fighting for freedom and fighting for natural things. Yeah? Please, my friend Rob Ross, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's absolutely, that's the case. That's why I mentioned the SDGs and also the ESGs before. Sri Lanka is a perfect example. They scored a 98.1 on the E of ESG, while the United States scored 57 something on the ESG. But Sri Lanka, it was a chaos. There was no food anymore. There was so it turned out to be a chaos, but a perfect ESG score. But this is exactly what's happening. They abuse the climate agenda. It's not even environment. It's really a climate agenda to suppress the people. First, they attacked our energy system. Then they attacked our food system, and the next thing they will attack, and that's already going on, is our water system. And if you don't have enough energy, if you don't have enough food, and you don't have enough water, then you can control people, because the people are not strong enough to fight back. And if we learn from history, then we see that in the 1930s, Stalin did exactly the same. He attacked the farmers. Millions of people died because of hunger. Then in the 1960s, Mao did exactly the same. He attacked with the Great Leap Forward. He attacked the farmers. Millions of people starved to death because of hunger. And now they are attacking our food system in Europe and also in the United States. I did a tour in Texas in May last year, and I heard exactly the same from the farmers over there. They came to the Texas because they were also suppressed in other parts of the United States. So it is a UN agenda. It's global. It's an unelected people. We cannot hold them accountable. No one asked for this. In a democracy, it's we the people, and then you ask for, we want this, this, and this. But this is something that is pushed. And behind this UN agenda, there are these powerful NGOs, and behind the powerful NGOs, there are these philanthropists like Soros, and they don't care about the people. And we, as conservatives, and I keep on saying that, we make everyone's life better, not only the conservative people, but also we also improve the lives from the people of the left. They hate us, but we have seen that by President Trump in the United States. Jobs. He created jobs. He created energy export in the United States. He made the lives better of everyone, the blacks, the Hispanics, everyone. And this is what we do, and that's why people should vote for us and not for socialists, because there will be a time they run out of money, other people's money.
Only to tell you two more examples about countries that use the Hungary to do politics. You have in Venezuela and Cuba. For example, in Venezuela, you don't have food enough to buy, or you do not have money enough to buy food. Doesn't matter. In the end of the day, you have no food to eat. But to receive food at your home, you need a governmental card called Tarjeta de la Patria. But to receive the food from the government in your house, you need to accomplish with the governmental requirements, or better, the dictatorship requirements, which means you have to vote for the left, you have to go to the streets in protest in favor of the dictatorship, and all of that.
That's a perfect example, Eduardo, and it reminds me also the Chinese example of the credit, the social credit. I mean, it doesn't blackmail you with food, but still, you know, like you cannot basically move over there. They don't take your food, but they take your freedom. So you cannot move, you cannot transport from one city to another if your social credit is bad. And that's how communists play. And they are trying to make the world more progressive, but they don't know that the progressive may be a shorter scale of what it is to be the communism in the long run. Now, Eduardo, going back again about what happened yesterday, you just quoted Cuba, right? And we had a Cuban, Zoe, actually speaking. And she spoke a little bit. She's a Cuban that went to Brazil at her teenage years. And now she is Brazilian, and she's going to run for city council, right, Eduardo? Yes. And she gave a beautiful speech about how the first time she used the toilet paper was when she arrived in Brazil. She had never used it before in her life. And
Wow.
when the first time she went to a supermarket, she broke down when she saw all that food. It was like it was too much for her. She couldn't comprehend that. That was very touching, Eduardo. Also, your father's speech, and he said a little bit about himself, everything that he's going through, and that he's not going to give up, that we need to keep fighting for freedom. He really motivated people. And we could see that every gathering that Bolsonaro organizes, there is more people, and the people follows him. And now we have a president that doesn't even go on the streets. Could you explain it to me and Rob? You know, what the conversations you heard? Are people a little bit more confident after our January 8th, after everything that happened? Are they willing to stand by you? And by the way, they are very happy with the congressmen that have been going on these missions and doing what the Senate should be doing. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I think the mainstream media, what's now happening in the United States, that mainstream media is reporting of this, and that's because of this hearing is coming up on, it's May 6 and 7, if I understood very well. This is not the case in Europe, not yet. The mainstream media is also very lefted, and we see also Macron went to Brazil, trying to show the people that it's that Lula is the friend of Europe, but so we need to push a little bit more in Europe. I think this Twitter files, it's well, I called it a gift from God that Elon Musk is helping with this. Now they cannot deny anymore that not only that people are suppressed, but it also that there was interference in the elections by the Moares, because he was the president of this court, this election court. And but we're not there. We have to push more, and I hope there will be new Twitter files, and that well, the mainstream media in Europe cannot deny it anymore, and that also Macron is start to feeling ashamed to go to Lula and to embrace him like it was his like it was a honeymoon. It was, for me, it's incredible that a European leader is has such a good relationship with a, is it a dictator? I don't know, but he's going that way.
Do you have hope that now the next elections in the European Parliament, the Europeans are going to elect more conservatives, and maybe, who knows, among them, one more Rob, one more Eduardo, one more Jair Messias Bolsonaro? What are the conversations that you're hearing? How is the people talking about that?
Yeah, the establishment is really afraid. They now start to spread this rumor about Russia interfering in our election, and it's the far right. That they mean us. I think so far we were right. That's true. But the establishment is really afraid of losing these elections. So they use this communist toolbox with all the tricks, censorship, Russia. We saw that in the United States. We see it now here in Europe. While at the same time, the far left, they have good, the far left in the European Parliament have ties with, for example, China, and also Venezuela and Cuba. They really are close with these real dictators. But as long as the mainstream media is not reporting in a decent and right way about this, well, they keep the people unknown, and this is we have to. This is why events like this is important, that people watch the alternative media to find out the truth. That's why it's important that Elon Musk, that with X, is really a platform with free speech, and that we expose all this. If there wasn't an X platform of Elon Musk, people would still think it was Israel who attacked this hospital in Gaza. But because of X, we know the truth, and that's makes people awake.
Yes, it's true. Now, Eduardo, Rob just talked a little bit more about Elon Musk. We saw yesterday in the event in Rio a lot of signs. One actually of you, a very good shot of you, a picture saying thank you to Elon Musk. Elon Musk actually posted that too. He retweeted, and people are being people are having expectations about the next mission in the Capitol Hill here in the United States, that Elon Musk is going to be speaking along with Michael Schellenberger, Paulo Figueiredo, and others. I don't know who else will be speaking, but and we saw like a meme, kind of like a joke online about people asking to Elon Musk to buy Globo. That is the biggest mainstream media network in Brazil, Rob. It's a very corrupt one. And that would actually be funny. Have you been follow up in all of the internet's, I don't know, party over this? And what do you think about your expectations for the next mission with Elon Musk? Eduardo.
Sorry. Yes, I'm following. Elon Musk retweeted Joaquim Teixeira, which is a profile in X that uses a lot of humor, and he was asking Elon Musk to buy the Globo Group, which it is the biggest mainstream media communication group of Brazil and for sure of Latin America. I think it's one of the top 4 media group of the whole world. So Globo, they are really strong. And they are really serving the Lula da Silva administration. Like no one like the journalists of Globo try to overturn the reality like they do. Like it's incredible the work that they do. Then they hired Daniela Lima from CNN because she's amazing doing that, trying to create narratives, saying that the censors are fighting for democracy. And man, it's hard life. I imagine that they have a hard life working. what I would like to say is that a lot of congressmen of Brazil, and hope God together with you, Rob, it will be a pleasure meeting you again and gather together with my friends from Congress. We will have a couple of days at the Capitol to follow Elon Musk together with Paulo Figueiredo and some other people like the journalist Michael Schellenberg and also Chris Pavlovsky, who is the owner of Rumble, remembering that Rumble is not working in Brazil anymore and also not working in France. And it will be a great opportunity to bring some lights again to what is going on in Brazil and have some reaction to we fight back at real life to stop the regime here in Brazil. But what I would like to say, despite of all of that, is that I came back, Rob, from European Union on April 13th. On April 18th, last Friday, my name now is inside of a FBI report, Brazilian FBI report, because I was together with Paulo Figueiredo, Alan dos Santos, and some other exiled journalists, Brazilian journalists that are living in the United States. We were together in a live streaming on X, a space on X, which is a live stream of audio. And this kind of report, it's what preview an investigation. So very likely, because the work that we are doing in European Union, in United States, and talking with some other people that are also fighting for freedom, I'm going to be officially under an investigation in Brazil. Just like what happened with Elon Musk. This is Alexandre de Moraes saying that if you dare to try to combat his system, he is going to send the federal police to your house. And if he has the opportunity, he will bring you to prison, just like how he did with Congressman Daniel Silveira. So, Rob, when we were in Brussels talking about the risk that we have to go back home and be arrested, this is not far away. This is not something that, is not going to happen. It really can happen. This risk is real. And the system, as Lily already said in the beginning of the show, the system, as some of the players, like the mainstream media, are looking forward and seeing in the future that the things are going to overturn. It's natural that the dictators is going to do desesperated decisions, desesperated things, attitudes, trying to avoid this overturn. But we will resist and we will win. Hope God.
Amen, amen, we will. And now I know we are running out of time here. So I would like you, Rob, to give us your last considerations here and to tell you already that it has been a pleasure. You're a good friend to Brazil, and we look forward to our next mission together. But thank you so much.
Yeah, well, to respond on what Eduardo was saying, we see that the Moares, I think my pronounce is not so good, but Alexandre de Moares, that and also Lula, they abuse the legal system to silence the opposition. Exactly is what's happening in the United States. They abuse the legal system to fight President Trump from re-election, and they all do that to save democracy and to save the rule of law. That's what they're telling the people, but they cannot fool the people anymore. Everyone is awake. Everyone has seen what's going on. So it's not working anymore. In Europe, we see a lot of conservative governments coming up, winning the elections, and also in Brazil, in the United States. In the end, we win. And my message to the people in Brazil: stay strong, speak out. The more voices we have, the more stronger we are. And in the end, we will win, I'm sure.
Amen, amen. Thank you so much, Rob. Last considerations, Eduardo?
I'm very happy that Rob is also going to US, and I highly advise people to share what Elon Musk is doing, share what Michael Schellenberg is bringing up at his social media, to more and more people know about what is going on in Brazil, not only to preserve our democracy, but to prevent that this Brazilian virus that is coming from the judiciary going all around the world. Again, in Brazil, we have a very special case that the censorship is coming from the judiciary. And as the very famous politician and philosopher Rui Barbosa already said in the last century, the worst dictatorship is the judiciary dictatorship, because from that, you have nowhere to appeal. So, hope God that we are going to resist and we are going to do our job, because if our enemies are trying to stop us, it shows that we are on the right way. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Rob.
Amen. That's it. Thank you so much, Rob. Thank you so much, Eduardo. Thank you so much, our dear audience there watching from TV Florida, USA. And the mission was amazing. Look forward to seeing you both. Amazing congressman, politician. May God bless you. And in all of the name of the audience here, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When the world's on fire, when the sun burns cold,